Can you tell me what day one of the Kennedy administration would look like? What's the first thing you would do getting in the open?
You know, for the first, let's say the first 100 days, first of all, I'm going to go to the agencies. And I'm going to go to Bethesda, I'm going to go see DOT, I'm going to go see USDA, and begin the process of unraveling corporate capture of those agencies, this corrupt merger of state and corporate power that is strip mining American middle class of their equity and their wealth.
Okay. That's first 100 days, corporate capture. Okay.
What was the nature of the trip?
He had a basketball tournament.
You guys have your ride cam receipt there, sir?
I didn't do it.
How come?
I didn't feel okay with that.
Okay. Do you guys have your vaccine cards?
I don't want to disclose that information either.
Talk to me. Yeah. Did you get a pre-arrival test prior to coming in or no?
I didn't get any tests done, no.
Over to spot number 12 and someone will meet you there, okay?
What's that for?
Thank you. Just have to talk to a quarantine officer quick.
Oh, do we have to talk to them?
So you just pull over, they'll take this up if you don't want to stay. That's up to you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, bye. Hello.
What's going on?
Just told me to give you this.
All right, do you have your passports? I can see your
Of
face.
course, yeah.
All right, perfect, thank you.
Okay.
And then, did we do a ride can?
No,
No?
no.
Are you vaccinated?
We're not disclosing that info.
Not disclosing?
No.
Okay, so public health is going to be coming out to talk to you.
Oh, I don't want to talk to them.
Pardon?
I don't want to talk to them.
Okay, then I'm going to need to just take down your name for them.
No, that's fine. They can. I'm sure they can get our names if they need it.
Okay.
I don't need to talk.
You
to
don't
them.
want to just sit here and wait and talk to them? They can come right down.
No, I don't want to talk to them. I'm fine. Are we being detained by anyone?
No, not by customs, no.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
It's the motherfucking Eagle Double G.
Snoop Dogg.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control.
A lot of my family blood spilled for this country.
Forward. Now, of course, we expect a lot of litigation. We expect that the former president's legal team is going to go to bat, trying to make sure that they fight out every single thing that the Justice Department tries to restrict the president with. Jake?
Obviously, a fan of CNN behind Evan Perez. Let's go over again the 37 charges that Donald Trump is facing.
Any way you look at this, whatever this spectacle is that's unfolding before us, let's remember what this case is about.
One reason, because they don't want Donald Trump to run and win again in 2024. That's what this is about.
And again, despite whatever may be going on in that restaurant,
Folks in the control room, I don't need to see any more of that. He's trying to turn this in. He's trying to turn it into a spectacle, into a campaign ad. That's enough of that.
And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment.
We've seen it already.
That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control.
It's absolute tyranny. That's what it is out here. It's tyranny. That's what we're seeing.
If he gets indicted, January 6th is going to look like a playground.
We don't even care if he's going to be in jail, and we have to write him in. You know, to a lot of us, it's like Trump or nothing. Like, we're not even looking at DeSantis as a second option. We're not looking at anybody else as a second option.
Just keeps getting worse.
It's going to look like a playground. All we need is an order. We're ready.
All right, joining us now live. He was with his father for most of the day, as I understand it today. Eric Trump is with us. Eric, you were with your dad as this was unfolding?
I was, Sean. In fact, I was the guy that got the call this morning, and I called my father to let him know that it happened. So I was involved in this all day. And, you know, welcome to politics in the 2000s. My father never got so much as a speeding ticket in his life, until he made one decision, and that's to go down the escalators of Mar-a-Lago and spend a lot of money and go and actually fight for this country for the first time. And they started coming after him. The day he won, 2016, the day he won, November 8th, and he wasn't president. He hadn't been elected for for 5 minutes at that point. And they start, this is when impeachment begins. And then he's impeached the first time. And then he was impeached the second time. And they slandered him. They belittled him. They went after him. They went after all of us. And you know what? It's gone on past politics. You look at the attorney generals. You look at district attorneys all over the country. All they want to do is they want to get Donald Trump. They raise money on it. They send fundraising emails about it. They brag on camera about it. They go after him. They subpoena him. I'm probably the most subpoenaed person in the history of the United States. Every single day we get another subpoena. And they do it for one reason. Because they don't want Donald Trump to run and win again in 2024. That's what this is about. To have 30 FBI agents, actually more than that, descend on Mar-a-Lago, give absolutely, no notice, go through the gate, start ransacking an office, ransacking a closet. They broke into a safe. He didn't even have anything in the safe. I mean, give me a break. And this is coming from what? The National Archives? Where is everybody? Why is it that the arrows only fly at Donald Trump and his family? Why is it that the political persecution only goes one way in this country?
Well, let's talk a little bit about what you were being told. What was the purpose for this raid?
So when the president moves out of the White House, you have effectively, 6 hours to move out of the White House. It's effectively inauguration time where one president gets moved out and one president gets moved in, right? That's how the whole system works. And the purpose for the raid, from what they said, was because the National Archives wanted to, corroborate whether or not Donald Trump had any documents in his possession. And my father has worked so collaboratively with them for months. In fact, I had such an amazing relationship with these people. And all of a sudden, on no notice, they sent, 20 cars and 30 agents. This didn't come from the little local FBI field office in Palm Beach, Florida. You know who this came from. This came from one place and one building, and that is the White House in Washington, D.C. They can't stand that Americans love him. I mean, even as I watch the channel right now, they keep on showing these beautiful clips of people, waving Trump flags outside of Mar-a-Lago, his supporters. When has that ever happened in a political movement in the United States before?
What could they possibly think existed that was so damaging that the FBI director and the Attorney General of the United States would have to raid a former president's residence and grab everything out of there? Because that doesn't make sense. What secret document could possibly rise to that level?
Yeah. It's insane. How many times can you cry wolf? I mean, the FBI dragged this whole country through hell for 3 years based on lies and deceit and dirty dossiers and FISA warrants and everything else, right? And everything proved to be incorrect, fraudulent, made up, an absolute sham. They dragged this country through hell. And here they are again, raiding the guy's house. I mean, when do you say enough's enough? When do you give a human being, who fought so hard for this country, when do you give them the benefit of the doubt? This has been happening since day one. They cannot stand that a guy named Donald Trump, who was a real estate developer who built tremendous wealth and fame, was able to go into a political system in the U.S. and take out a person like Hillary Clinton and beat them at their own game, and then go into Washington, D.C. and do a phenomenal job and end up becoming one of the best presidents this country has ever had. And then they put in one of their own, and the guy turns out to be an absolute flop. He does a terrible, terrible job, and the country's going to hell under his leadership. And then now all of a sudden they realize that his son's in trouble, and that he's in trouble, and their political party's in trouble, and that Donald Trump is poised. They know he's poised to win. And guess what? That threatens them, that threatens who they are, and they will do anything they can to take him out, to take me out, to take Don out, to take Ivanka out, to take our family out. They do it every single day. They do it at a state level. They do it at a federal level. The FBI does it. They subpoena us. They make our lives hell every single day because they are threatened by Donald J. Trump. And honestly, I hope, and I'm saying this for the first time, I hope he goes out and beats these guys again, because honestly, this country can't survive this nonsense. It can't. This is not who we are. This is banana republic antics. Having a home of the 45th president of the United States raided by FBI agents, safes broken open. This is not who we are as a democracy. Imagine if that happened to... The world would be in an uproar.
You know, again, they better have a good reason for this. And here's another thing. Were the lawyers allowed to follow the FBI through Mar-a-Lago today as they were looking everywhere? Did anyone watch them?
No, the answer is lawyers weren't allowed. They weren't allowed to be anywhere within sight. It's horrible. That's got to be a violation right there. They weren't allowed to be anywhere in sight.
Well, Eric Trump, all I can say is the FBI better have a slam dunk criminal case. Otherwise, the Biden administration and the DOJ have crossed a line of no return. If you watch what they've done over the years, they don't get the benefit of the doubt anymore because they lied and they tried to take your father out for 3 years. And America tonight is asking, do we have equal justice and application of our laws in this country? Because after the way they treated your father with the Russian hoax, they've had the laptop longer than anybody. Director Ray, I don't know anything about the laptop. And we certainly have a politicized Department of Justice. There's no doubt about it. And they used a dirty Hillary dossier to do it. They spied on him illegally. Nobody was held accountable.
When an investigation is had about your activity. No, let me finish. I'm trying to answer the question from a Republican point of view. That may not be acceptable on this show. Ridiculous.
So political. 2016. I mean, every election we've now seen this, Dana. 2016, it was a dossier that they used. They knew it was false. They used it to go get a warrant to spy on his campaign. 2018, it was the Mueller investigation.
Okay.
2020,
let me just stop you.
Laptop story with the 51 former intel officials. 2020.
Let me stop you right there, sir. First of all, I want to go back to just one of the things that you said.
They're indicting him before the 2024 presidential race.
July 21st.
Every single election, they've done something.
We do have now some of the sound, as I told you. We're not, and the audience, we're not carrying his remarks live because, frankly, he says a lot of things that are not true and sometimes potentially dangerous.
And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control.
We welcome our witnesses and thank them for appearing today. We will begin by swearing you in. Would you please stand and raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief, so help you God? Let the record show both witnesses have answered in the affirmative. Mr. Schellenberger, you are recognized for your opening statement.
I'm grateful for this opportunity to offer this testimony and sound the alarm over the shocking and disturbing emergence of state-sponsored censorship in the United States of America. In his 1961 farewell address, President Dwight Eisenhower.
Good evening, my fellow Americans. This evening, I come to you with a message of leave-taking and farewell, and to share a few final thoughts with you, my countrymen. 3 days from now, after half a century in the service of our country, I shall lay down the responsibilities of office as, in traditional and solemn ceremony, the authority of the presidency is vested in my successor. Like every other citizen, I wish the new president and all who will labor as we peer into society's future, we, you and I, and our government, must avoid the impulse to live only for today, plundering for our own ease and convenience the precious resources of tomorrow. We cannot mortgage the material assets of our grandchildren without risking the loss also of their political and spiritual heritage.
Eisenhower feared that the size and power of government contractors in the Defense Department through, quote,
the prospect of domination of the nation's scholars by federal employment,
project allocations,
and the power of money,
he would become the captive
of a scientific
technological
elite.
How did he mean that?
Akin to and largely responsible for the sweeping changes in our industrial military posture has been the technological revolution during recent decades. In this revolution, research has become central. It also becomes more formalized, complex, and costly. A steadily increasing share is conducted
for, by, or at the direction of the federal government in laboratories
and testing fields. Today, the solitary inventor, tinkering in his shop, has been overshadowed by task forces of scientists. For every old blackboard, there are now hundreds of new electronic computers. In the same fashion, the free university, historically the fountainhead of free ideas and scientific discovery, has experienced a revolution in the conduct of research. Partly because of the huge costs involved, a government contract becomes virtually a substitute for intellectual curiosity. Added to this, 3.5 million men and women are directly engaged in the defense establishment. We have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions. We annually spend on military security alone more than the net income of
all United States corporations.
The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. It commands our whole attention, absorbs our very beings. Any failure traceable to arrogance or our lack of comprehension or readiness to sacrifice would inflict upon us grievous hurt, both at home and abroad. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We face a hostile ideology, global in scope, atheistic in character, ruthless in purpose, and insidious in method. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. Unhappily, the danger it poses promises to be of indefinite duration.
About your combat troops. He told McNamara he is going to pull out the goddamned advisors. He fucked us in Laos, and now he is going to fuck us in goddamn Vietnam.
He won't implement it before the election. He can't afford to.
I hear the NSC meeting was a real barn burner. I wouldn't have missed it for the world. Heads are gonna roll everywhere. Did you hear what Lemnitz said? Kennedy tried to rub Lem's nose in shit, saying if we didn't go into Cuba, which is so close, why should we go into Vietnam, which is so far away? Well, bitch, there he goes again. He's got his hands on the chicken switch. Lem said that the chiefs still think we ought to go into Cuba.
We have to control the intelligence from Saigon.
Well, just don't let McNamara start sticking his damn nose in this thing. Every time he goes over to Saigon on some fucking fact-finding mission, he comes back and just scares the shit out of the president. Now, won't Max Taylor on him night and day, like a fly on shit. Now, you control McNamara, and you control Kennedy.
I think it started like that, in the wind. Defense contractors, big oil bankers, just conversations, nothing more. Then a call is made, maybe to someone like my superior officer, General White.
Yeah.
We're going. We need your help.
When?
In the fall, probably in the south. We want you to come up with a plan.
I can do that.
Everything is cellularized. No one has said he must die. There's been no vote, nothing's on paper. There's no one to blame. It's as old as the crucifixion. A military firing squad. 5 bullets, 1 blank, no one's guilty. Because everyone in the power structure who knows anything has a plausible deniability. There are no compromising connections except at the most secret point. But what's paramount is that it must succeed. No matter how many die, no matter how much it costs, the perpetrators must be on the winning side and never subject to prosecution for anything by anyone. That is a coup d'etat.
I confess that I laid down my official responsibilities in this field with a definite sense of disappointment. As one who has witnessed the horror and the lingering sadness of war, as one who knows that another war could utterly destroy this civilization, which has been so slowly and painfully built over thousands of years, I wish I could say tonight that a lasting peace is in sight. The record of many decades stands as proof that our people and their government have, in the main, understood these truths and have responded to them well in the face of threat and stress. We must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals. So in this, my last good night to you as your president, I thank you for the many opportunities you have given me for public service in war and in peace. Now, on Friday noon, I am to become a private citizen. I am proud to do so. I look forward to it. Thank you, and good night.
We have presented the farewell address by the President of the United States, Dwight D. Eisenhower, who spoke this evening from his office in the White House.
The Twitter files, state attorneys general lawsuits, and investigative reporters have revealed a large and growing network of government agencies, academic institutions, and non-governmental organizations that are actively censoring American citizens, often without their knowledge, on a range of issues.
And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control.
Hey, sir, how's it going? How are you? I just live around the neighborhood. I work for the Biden-Harris campaign.
No, don't stick that in my ear.
Oh, no, I'm just going around the neighborhood. I noticed you didn't have a sign already.
I don't want the sign. Take it out.
Oh, why not?
Because Biden sucks. Please.
Oh.
Seriously, no.
Do you not care about the country, or?
Please take it off my property, and you get off too. I'm serious.
Okay. Well, I'll just leave it there.
You will not leave it.
Yeah, I'll just leave it there.
No, you won't. Watch this. I'll put it in the back of your truck.
Oh, I'll just leave it here.
Get it out.
Okay. You guys put it right here?
Do not put it in. Okay. I'm about to shove it up your ass. Do not do it. Put it up.
Okay.
I'm giving you a chance.
You got it, you got it.
I'm gonna give you a chance.
Okay. Oh shit. That's my sign.
Well, go get it.
Would you rather vote AOC?
Go get it. I don't want you on my property. Get the fuck out and never stick that shit in my yard again.
Okay.
And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free.
Than anything else? You realize that? The point is, we ask so much of you. So much of you.
As you know, this week, Joe Biden came to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania to give the most vicious, hateful, and divisive speech ever delivered by an American president, vilifying 75 million citizens as threats to democracy and as enemies of the state. You're all enemies of the state. He's an enemy of the state. You want to know the truth? The enemy of the state.
It is him and the group that control him, which is circling around him. Do this, do that, Joe. You're gonna do this, Joe.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic. There's no question that the Republican Party today is dominated,
Driven, intimidated by Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans.
and that is a threat to this country.
I've never seen anything like it. And if you saw the other day, very smart people standing there talking about the world order for the next 100 years. That's one of the saddest things you can imagine, one of the saddest.
We're all called by duty and conscience to confront extremists who put their own pursuit of power above all else. Democrats, independents, mainstream Republicans, we must be stronger, more determined, and more committed to saving American democracy than MAGA Republicans are
to destroying American democracy.
Okay, now just call Atlanta and speak to corporate security.
Okay.
And if you do come on the jet bridge, click the shirt in, outside, in and out, right? So that word doesn't show. I will have to decline the whole aircraft. I'm sorry about that, sir. It's just Delta policy. You cannot wear it. And they did advise me also you will be on the no-flying list. Okay? So you want to come on the jet bridge, let's just click the shirt and get everybody else to LA.
You have yet to show me something.
All
that
right,
has
it's a policy, and you can call, and we could go ahead and look it up online, right on the jet bridge. There's a computer.
If it's online, just pull up your cell phone.
But that's not inconvenient.
No. You're making this inconvenient. Because last time I checked, I live in the United States of America. Do I not? Ma'am, do I not? No, do I not? Ma'am, do I not?
Okay. It's something very simple.
It's not simple. It's not simple. No. My dad served in the military. Have the freedoms today. My dad served in the United States, and now you're telling me I have to take off my hoodie.
No problem.
Wow.
And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control.
You know, there's been a coup. We don't have any resemblance to a government that believes in a republic. We don't have honest money. We don't have integrity. We don't even have people in Washington that even pretends, that you're supposed to tell the truth. Remember, just recently there was a congressperson that won, and he won by putting on his resume just a bunch of lies, and the other ones got hysterical. The other congressman is telling lies like this. How many of these people that were complaining about this guy telling lies, how many of them lied when they raised their hand up and swore to uphold the Constitution? Now, that's a lie that really has consequences. The real lies are being told, and that is our big problem. I do believe there has been a coup, and it's been taken over. In my mind, and anybody could pick probably any date in the last 100 years, but I have picked November 22nd, 1963.
What happened on that day?
That was the day Kennedy was murdered by our government.
Wow.
By the CIA.
And that is the most important topic on earth: peace. What kind of a peace do I mean, and what kind of a peace do we seek? Not a Pax Americana, enforced on the world by American weapons of war. Not the peace of the grave, or the security of the slave. I am talking about genuine peace, the kind of peace that makes life on earth worth living, the kind that enables men and nations to grow and to hope and build a better life for their children. Not merely peace for Americans, but peace for all men and women. Not merely peace in our time, but peace in all time. I speak of peace, therefore, as a necessary, rational end of rational men. I realize that the pursuit of peace is not as dramatic as the pursuit of war, and frequently the words of the pursuers fall on deaf ears, but we have no more urgent task. Our problems are man-made, therefore they can be solved by man, and man can be as big as he wants. No problem of human destiny is beyond human beings. Man's reason and spirit have often solved the seemingly unsolvable, and we believe they can do it again. And if we cannot end now our differences, at least we can help make the world safe for diversity. For in the final analysis, our most basic common link is that we all inhabit this small planet. We all breathe the same air. We all cherish our children's future. And we are all mortal.
This is the key shot. The president going back and to his left. Shot from the front and right. Totally inconsistent with the shot from the depository. Again. Back and to the left. Back and to the left. Back and to the left.
Can you tell me what day one of the Kennedy administration would look like? What's the first thing you would do getting in the open?
Let's say the first 100 days, first of all, I'm going to go to the agencies. And I'm going to go to Bethesda, I'm going to go see DOT, I'm going to go see USDA, and begin the process of unraveling corporate capture of those agencies, this corrupt merger of state and corporate power that is strip mining American middle class of their equity and their wealth.
Okay. That's first 100 days, corporate capture. Okay.
Matter of fact, Kennedy was killed in Dallas, but he landed at Kelly Air Force Base, and I was the flight surgeon there the day before, and I was aware of this trip. And those early years, which we talked about a lot, especially the first year or two, oh, Oswald did it, and then, and, you know, the person they talk about most is Alan Dulles as being the instigator of all this, and he, guess what? There were 7 on the commission, and Dulles, Dulles was put on the committee to investigate it. So, but he was going to make sure they told the truth. It was a big farce, but that was a big day in history in my mind.
From this president, just in the past few hours, really raises some serious questions about his fitness for office.
You can tell by the way I use my walk, I'm a woman's man, no time to talk. The music loud, the women want, my being kicked around since I was born. But now it's all right, it's okay, and you may look the other way, but we gotta try to understand a New York Times effect on man. Whether you're a brother or whether you're a mother, you're staying alive.
Sir, it is my esteemed pleasure to introduce Mr. and Mrs. Donald Trump. It's the Donald! Oh my God!
Kids, make it fast. I've got a plane to catch.
Mr. Trump, we give you
Scabsy!
Hey, Donald!
Told me you were here. You look great.
Mwah. Thank you very much. Donald owns this restaurant. This is my friend Mike McNeil.
Hey, listen. Are you bagging her?
Huh?
Are you?
No, we just met.
I hope you have a good lawyer.
Hey, Donald, listen, it's 50 cents to open. Okay, here's a news flash. You're rich, all right?
And I didn't get rich by throwing away quarters. All right, okay.
Samantha, a cosmopolitan, and Donald Trump. You just don't get more New York than that.
Look at this, right here on the street, it's Donald Trump.
Wade.
Trump.
I hear Kelson finally dumped you.
Randall. Donald.
Mr. Trump here wrote The Art of the Deal. Then he wrote a new bestseller, The Art of the Comeback.
2 books.
Wow.
Saudi is going to crash and burn and take his clients with him. Excuse me. I'm here with Donald Trump, for God's sake. How long is it going to be?
Sorry, Frank, but I'm going to go crash and burn with Cuddy. Call me.
Hi, Dad, it's me. You're gonna be so proud of me. I'm gonna win this race.
Waldo, you're the best son money can buy.
Thanks, Dad. Excuse me, where's the lobby?
Down the hall and to the left.
Thanks.
Look, without Derek Zoolander, male modeling wouldn't be what it is today.
President Trump saying his police and military supporters could make things very bad for his opposition. Keith, when you hear the president say things could get very bad, if police and military, the military get tough, what do you think he's saying?
He doesn't show any sense of he's learned anything.
Since he's become president.
The Donald is here, live on Monday Night Raw.
Steve?
You know, look, I think it's important here to be very precise in talking about what the president actually said. And he did not in any way infer or say that he was going to use the military, meaning in an official capacity, or the police in any way. What he's saying is among those groups, he has enormous support. And that's very clearly true. There is no doubt that violence from the left is on the rise.
Talking about having the military in a violent confrontation with the left in this country?
No, he's not saying the military or the police are going to take action. He is saying that among those groups, he has enormous support.
And he said it would get very, very bad.
And as individuals, not as a military force, not as police forces, as individuals, if they need to, they will defend themselves, because we've seen a marked rise in serious violence from the left, from Antifa and from other groups. Look, they are, you can't blow this off. They are shooting congressmen. They are punching student activists in the face. They are rousting speakers from podiums on campuses across this country. And what he's saying is his supporters are tired of being pushed around. It's never okay to instigate violence, but it is very okay to defend yourself, and that if that's necessary, if the left continues the prevalence of violence, that his supporters will be forced to defend themselves.
Steve, we've never had a president like this before.
Hey, yo, Sap, what's good, bro?
I'm really rich. I'll show you that next time. And by the way,
hey, yo, the flyest motherfucker in the room. Yeah, you know it's me. Bitches hating on him cause he started out here locally. Hopefully, I'll be at the top soon. For now, I'm at my house on the couch watching cartoons. You know how much you love it when you get it in abundance. Give a fuck about a budget when you always be the subject of discussion. But it's nothing when you stop and just say fuck it, cause you walking out in public and you hear him talking rubbish. I just wanna ride through the city in a cutlass.
the big butt bitch, some working on us. Kiss, that's the way it goes when you party just like I do. Bitches want the shit that used to watch me in high school. Take over the world when I'm on my Donald Trump shit. Look at all this money. Isn't that some shit? Take over the world when I'm on my Donald Trump shit. Look at all this money. Isn't that some shit?
We'll take over the world while these haters getting mad. That's why all my bitches bad. They see this crazy life I have in A&R. We gon' win. You can take the lose or draw. What I'm in. Got these hoes who used to play me in they bras. We gon' take over the world while these haters getting mad. Take over the world while these haters get mad. That's why all my bitches bad. They see this crazy life I have. Hop into the car and then we take them to the pad. It's a rap. And motherfuckers think they know me, but they never met the kids. They'll come with excellence and money make benevolence irrelevant for the fuckers who never been intelligent. I kill my Henny, break the bottle for the hell of it. Tell a bitch that she better bring a friend.
We'll take this country and make it great again.
Yeah, the party never end. This life is what I recommend. And if you gotta hope it for me, then she better be a 10.
I'm so angry, politicians acting crazy. When the situation's tricky and the pictures got them silly. But I take over the world when I'm on my Donald Trump shit. Look at all this money. Isn't that some shit? Don't take over. These politicians, they mad. That's all I need to say. They see this crazy life I have and they in. All we could win. You can't take the news or draw what I'm in. All these other people like it and they draw. Don't take over the world. Watch a hater get it mad. Take over the world. Watch a hater get mad. That's all I need to say. They see this crazy life I have. Stop into the car and then we take them to the bed.
It's a bad.
I'm proud to be the only president in decades who did not start a new war. Everyone said, oh, he's going to start a new war. I've never seen anything like it, what's happened. And if you saw the other day with President Xi, smart, top of his game. President Putin, smart, very smart people. standing there talking about the world order for the next 100 years. That's one of the saddest things you can imagine, one of the saddest.
There is no what I call smoking gun evidence in the public domain that says yes. But we have an enormous amount of anomaly, so-called UFO sightings. We have a great deal of circumstantial evidence that says we have been visited and that the official agencies responsible for investigating this have covered it up. I have no first-hand experience here. But what experience I do have is talking with people in the American government, both in the military and in intelligence, whose official duties were a part of the investigation. And they say yes. What our current effort is involved with is to get these people who have had experience over the last 30 or 40 years with these events to be able to come forward and speak openly before our Congress about what they did and what they know and what their experience was. All of these people operated under high security clearance and were not permitted officially at the time to talk about what was going on. It is now time to do that. And so our effort, mine and those of many of my colleagues, is to get this knowledge, whatever it is, made available to the public. It's not a simple phenomenon we're dealing with here. Personally, I think that the evidence says yes, but it even more than that. I think the evidence says that alien technology has been utilized by people on Earth, and that perhaps many of the sightings that people around the world are making now are not due to alien technology, to aliens, but to humans using an alien technology. That seems to be where the evidence points right now. Can I prove that? Can I confirm that? No. But the evidence is becoming so overwhelming. We also know, and I work with very high-level people who do know, we don't have those types of technologies in earthbound arsenals, military. They don't have it. So where's it coming from? Who has it? And it's not apparently all alien. There is reason to believe that some technology has been utilized by perhaps government and military people. On the other hand, our current government and military is totally naive about this. In other words, it's been separated away from government. And that's very alarming.
Why do you think this reality was separated from the people?
Historically, it goes back to shortly after World War II. And if there were, and I say if, there was a crash at Roswell, New Mexico, as claimed, the evidence seemed to suggest there was, then there was reason probably for the government to classify this very highly. People would be afraid. The military would have to admit we can't defend against alien presence, and there needed time to think about it and to decide what to do. But as often happens when you classify secret or very high secret classifications, very soon politicians and temporary people in government aren't considered reliable enough to have that information. So suddenly they're excluded from the information, and it becomes a very tight group of people who have the knowledge, and all of a sudden power exerts itself. That seems to have happened, and it seems that about 30 years ago, high-level politicians, leadership, presidents, high-level military officer no longer were given access to the information, and it became a clandestine group. That seems to be what's happened. And if so, it's very dangerous, because no government of the world has control of it. Not even the U.S. We blame the U.S. government, but I know the U.S. government leadership is naive. They do not know. But something's happening here. Someone knows. Someone is doing this, and I don't believe it's all E.T.
We meet in an hour of change and challenge, in a decade of hope and fear, in an age of both knowledge and ignorance. The greater our knowledge increases, the greater our ignorance unfolds. No man can fully grasp how far and how fast we have come. But condense, if you will, the 50,000 years of man's recorded history in a time span of but a half a century. Stated in these terms, we know very little about the first 40 years, except at the end of them, advanced man had learned to use the skins of animals to cover them. Then about 10 years ago, under this standard, man emerged from his caves to construct other kinds of shelter. Only 5 years ago, man learned to write and use a cart with wheels. Christianity began less than 2 years ago. The printing press came this year. And then less than 2 months ago, during this whole 50-year span of human history, the steam engine provided a new source of power. Newton explored the meaning of gravity. Last month, electric lights and telephones and automobiles and airplanes became available. Only last week did we develop penicillin and television and nuclear power. This is a breathtaking pace, and such a pace cannot help but create new ills as it dispels old. So it is not surprising that some would have us stay where we are a little longer, to rest, to wait. If this capsule history of our progress teaches us anything, it is that man in his quest for knowledge and progress is determined and cannot be deterred. We shall send to the moon, 240,000 miles away, a giant rocket more than 300 feet tall on an untried mission to an unknown celestial body, and then return it safely to Earth. But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic?
Eagle, Houston, we see you on the steerable, over. Roger, Eagle, contact. Roger, how does it look? Eagle has wings. Roger. We look good here. Okay, all flight controllers, gonna go for landing. Retro. Go. Fido. Go. Guidance. Go. Control. Go. Telcom. Go. GNC. Go. Ecom. Go. Surgeon. Go. Capcom, we're go for landing. Altitude 4200. Houston, you're a go for landing, over. Roger, understand. Go for landing. 3,000 feet. You're looking great. Roger, how about you, Telcom? Go. Guidance, you happy? Go. Fido. Go. 2,000 feet. 2,000 feet. Into the ag, 47 degrees. Roger. 37 degrees. Still looking very good. Your go. Top alarm. 1201. 1201. Roger, 1201 alarm. 1201 alarm. Same type, we're go, flight. Okay, we're go. We're go, same type, we're go. Altitude 16. 35 degrees, 750, coming down to 23. 540 feet and a 15. 1050 feet down at 4. Altitude, velocity, light. 3.5 down, 220 feet. 11 forward, coming down nicely, 200 feet. 4.5 down, 5.5 down. 100 feet, 3.5 down, 9 forward. Okay, 75 feet. Car's looking good, down a half. 6 forward. 60 seconds. Lights on, forward. Forward. 40 feet down, 2.5. Picking up some dust. Straight shadow. 4 forward, drift into the right a little. 30 seconds. Forward, drift. Contact light. Okay, engine stop. We copy you down, Eagle. Eagle has landed.
Fighting in the dance hall. Oh man, look at those cavemen go. It's the freakiest show. Take a look at the low man beating up the wrong guy. Oh man, wonder if you'll ever know who's in the best-selling show. Is their life on Mars?
This is the key shot. The president going back and to his left. Shot from the front and right. Totally inconsistent with the shot from the depository. Again, back and to the left. Back and to the left. Back and to the left. Back and to
the moon in this decade and do the other things. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone. And therefore, as we set sail, we ask God's blessing on the most hazardous and dangerous and greatest adventure on which man has ever embarked.
The time for empty talk is over. Now arrives the hour of action. For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government, while the people have borne the cost. Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. Politicians prospered, but the jobs left and the factories closed. Rusted out factories scattered like tombstones across the landscape of our nation. An education system flush with cash, but which leaves our children trapped in poverty in our inner cities. Young and beautiful students
deprived of all knowledge.
This American carnage stops right here and stops right now.
The outgoing president, right there.
From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first. Together, we will make America great again. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you.
The departing president kissing his wife's hand as they walk to the helicopter, Marine One. The new president and first lady watching. A final wave from President Obama, the 45th president, waving back. 1:10 p.m., the president signing his first law and signing for his official nominations, his cabinet picks, surrounded by family. Then, Statuary Hall inside the Capitol. President Trump arrives, Democrats and Republicans waiting. Among them, his one-time rival, Secretary Clinton, who he singled out. 3:30 this afternoon, the President and First Lady watch from the Capitol steps as the military honors its new Commander-in-Chief. Along the way, the new First family getting out of the motorcade, the President and the First Lady waving on their way to the White House.
President Trump turned his attention to the leadership at the Pentagon. He says many top military leaders don't support him because he wants to get the U.S. out of wars while they want to keep waging war, mainly to satisfy defense contractors.
I'm not saying the military is in love with me. The soldiers are. The top people in the Pentagon probably aren't, because they want to do nothing but fight wars so that all of those wonderful companies that make the bombs and make the planes and make everything else stay happy.
President Trump's chief of staff, Mark Meadows, said Tuesday that Trump's remarks were more directed at the so-called military-industrial complex. It seems likely the already strained relations between President Trump and the higher-ups at the Pentagon will only further deteriorate. The Army's top general defended the military's leaders on Tuesday, saying they would only recommend sending American troops into combat as a last resort.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Of course.
They wouldn't have the money coming.
That's right.
And that's the darkest conspiracy ever, that war is prolonged in order to prop up the military-industrial complex. And what's really crazy about the military-industrial complex is this: when there was Eisenhower talking about it on TV, which was really terrifying. That was when the first people were introduced to this concept. But Trump was talking about it recently. You know, Trump's doing this thing. He's like, wow, you know, this is a military-industrial complex, and these guys want to go to war. Like, he's just saying it sort of casually, like, hey, man, who are you talking about? Yeah. Like, who are these fucking
There's
people?
a lot of money in it.
Oh, my God. There's definitely a lot of incompetence. There's also a lot of people doing things specifically because they know it's profitable.
Can make money.
Yes.
So he paid all of this money, made a terrible deal. We don't need it. So he made this terrible deal, paid $150 billion, paid $1.8 billion in cash. That means cash, like, I mean, out of your pocket. Cash, green. Nobody's ever heard of a thing like that. I don't know if you've ever seen at a casino promotion $1 million in $100 bills. It's a lot of area. What's $1.8 billion like? We have tremendous power economically. If I can solve things economically, that's the way I want it.
So you can reassure people you're not looking for some kind of conflict in Iran? And
well, I'm the one that talks about these wars that are 19 years and people are just there. And don't kid yourself, you do have a military-industrial complex. They do like war. You know, in Syria with the caliphate. So I wipe out 100% of the caliphate. That doesn't mean you're not going to have these crazy people going around blowing up stores and blowing up things. These are seriously ill people. I don't want to say, oh, they're wiped out, you know, ISIS. But I wiped out 100% of the caliphate. I say I want to bring our troops back home. The place went crazy. They want to keep, you have people here in Washington, they never want to leave. If it was up to them, they'd bring thousands of soldiers in. Someday people will explain it. You do have a group, and they call it the military-industrial complex. They never want to leave. They always want to fight. No, I don't want to fight.